On the cusp of the iPhone 15 debut, Apple has finally admitted what has long been clear: the industry is facing a smartphone slowdown. Also, another M3 Mac goes into testing. Apple seeks to downplay its Goldman Sachs rift, and Vision Pro developer labs get off to a sluggish start. Last week in Power On, the iPhone 15 will have thinner bezels in another step toward Apple's dream phone. Less than 6 weeks before it unveils the iPhone 15, Apple Incorporated has finally acknowledged a hard reality: the US smartphone market is mired in a slump. After reporting sluggish iPhone sales on Thursday, sending Apple stock sliding, the company disclosed that the smartphone market has been in a decline for the last couple of quarters in the United States. That presents a challenge for the next iPhone, which promises to be the biggest update to the device in 3 years. When Apple rolls out major phone overhauls like it did with the iPhone 6 in 2014, iPhone 10 in 2017, and iPhone 12 in 2020, the new features usually sell themselves. In those earlier examples, the company kicked off major upgrade cycles by offering bigger screens, revamped designs, with no home button in the case of the X model, and 5G connections. Normally, the iPhone 15's bells and whistles would be similarly enticing. The Pro model includes borders around the display that are 1/3 thinner, a titanium frame that feels lighter and more premium than the current stainless steel design, big camera improvements, a USB-C charging port, and a much faster processor. But the sales prospects of the new iPhone won't hinge on features alone. Apple will have to work harder to coax shoppers into opening their wallets. A key theme of its post-earnings conference call Thursday was the slowdown. Sales of the iPhone slid 2.4% to $39.7 billion last quarter, coming in just below Wall Street estimates. The device has had earlier blips, including a rough patch in China in early 2019, a COVID-related launch delay in 2020, and supply chain problems in 2022, but the iPhone doesn't usually suffer sales declines. Apple blamed currency headwinds for hurting results, but also admitted that US shoppers aren't spending on its products the way they used to. Sales in Apple's home country paled in comparison with China, which Chief Executive Officer Tim Cook called out as a highlight of the quarter. That said, Apple expects the iPhone performance to improve in the current period. That means it will be better than a 2.4% decline, perhaps it will even grow. But the company warned that overall revenue will probably stay in the same range as the past quarter, when it fell. In fact, Apple is poised to suffer its 4th straight quarterly sales decrease, something that hasn't happened since 2001. That's a tough backdrop for the iPhone 15, which I'm told will go on sale around September 22, following an event planned for either September 12 or September 13. The timing means Apple will get about a week of iPhone 15 sales in its fiscal 4th quarter, which runs through September. The real test for Apple will be the holiday quarter, its sales period extending from October through December. That's invariably the company's busiest time of year. One thing going in Apple's favor: this holiday season should have a favorable comparison with the same stretch of 2022. Last year, the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max ran into a pandemic-related production stoppage at Foxconn Technology Group plants in China. That dragged down the iPhone's performance during the season. So it shouldn't be hard for the iPhone 15 to show healthy year-over-year growth, assuming it doesn't run into its own production problems. If Apple can't manage that, the smartphone slowdown could be even worse than feared. Like the other iPhone 15 models, the iPhone 15 Pro Max will likely debut with iOS 17 as its software. We should see our first glimpse at the new version of Apple's iPhone software at WWDC 2023, which gets underway on June 5. Expect a public beta of iOS 17 to appear shortly after that. Here's when we think the iOS 17 public beta will arrive. Yes, iOS 17 will run on older iPhones, too, but it's also going to be an important part of the iPhone 15 experience. Initial reports suggested that iOS 17 would be a fairly minor update, but lately we've heard talk of more significant changes. Specifically, there's rumors of iMessage improvements as well as big changes to the look of the wallet and health apps. A journaling app could come to the iPhone in iOS 17, and Apple may even open up the iPhone to third-party app stores, giving you the ability to sideload apps onto the iPhone 15 Pro Max. We've also heard that Apple may be shrinking the bezels on the iPhone 15 Pro Max to the smallest of any smartphone around. This is backed up by 9to5Mac, which has delivered iPhone 15 Pro Max renders that show the new model from every angle. The site says the bezels could be just 1.55 millimeters. New iPhone 15 Pro and iPhone 15 Pro Max renders posted by Ice Universe confirm that size, while Mark Gurman says the reduction in bezel will come thanks to the same liposcreen technology used in the Apple Watch. Regardless of bezels, don't expect the dot return of Touch ID on any iPhone 15 model, including the Pro Max. The Pro Max may have a smaller camera bump than the iPhone 15 Pro, as only the former is tipped for a periscope zoom camera. The renders also show solid-state buttons instead of mechanical buttons and a new red color for the Pro and Pro Max. Those solid-state buttons, which would have replaced the regular moving buttons, now seem to no longer be a thing for the iPhone 15 Pro Max. They may not even appear on the iPhone 16 series next year. Other sources have also claimed deep red will be Apple's signature color for the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max this year, with additional iPhone 15 color reports backing up that claim. We assume we'll also have more reserved gold, silver, and space gray/black options returning from previous Pro iPhones too. The iPhone 15 Pro Max's chassis could be made of titanium, and an aerospace-grade type of titanium at that. This could lead to a stronger yet lighter iPhone Pro Max, which we think would be an excellent upgrade and shift away from the stainless steel edges that can be chipped easily, in our experience at least. Speaking of buttons, one rumor claims the iPhone 15 Pro models could come with an action button similar to the one found on the Apple Watch Ultra. The button would be customizable, like that on the Apple Watch Ultra. And one report has the action button tipped to be a super shortcut button for the iPhone 15 Pro phones, enabling users to assign actions like triggering the camera, flashlight, translate, or voice memos features. CAD renders of the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max show us what an action button might look like. A separate iPhone 15 Pro case leak shows new pictures show power and volume buttons positioned that are slightly lower than on the iPhone 14 Pro, as well as a slightly larger bottom cutout for a USB-C port.